Explain like I'm 5. Why is there not a massive tax on owning additional investment single-family homes? Many desirable areas have massive shortages of available single-family homes for sale. A lot of them are run by progressive politicians who advocate for more affordable and missing middle housing. Why are these places not creating massive property taxes on homes that are not primary residences? To effectively force landlords to sell? And of course, I know many so-called progressives are masquerading as advocates for housing while collecting incentives from developers and investors. But let's pretend for a minute they don't exist. If people's motives were genuine and good, why shouldn't there be a massive tax on single-family real estate holdings outside of primary residences? You see some cities placing stricter rules on short-term rentals to bolster supply. Why not long-term rentals as well? Follow-up edit note: I'm not some anti-development NIMBY who wants to simply force landlords out and shuffle people around. We must build lots of new housing too and do away with poor land use measures like parking minimums. I'm curious about people's thoughts about this sort of tax in conjunction with ample new stock construction. Rental properties already pay massive property taxes. It indirectly punishes renters who pay higher rents to cover the punishing property taxes and regulatory fees. Local governments love taxing rental properties because renters will blame the landlord and not their local politicians. There is a huge difference. 1% tax for residential, 2 for rental and 3 for industrial. Plus my area has a 4.75 tax that, after deductions, is a 1.5 rate for primary home. You don't get these deductions on a rental. So effective tax rate is super high, around 6. Something like 90 of people own in this area. And rental rates are high as a result, and home prices are cheap. 203K gets 2,300 SQFT 4-bed 2.5 bath. In Illinois we get homestead exemptions. However, if you massively taxed rentals, rent would just get more expensive. Good policies aren't intended to be punitive. And the whole force someone to sell thing is ugly. At best the goal should be balance. Which I agree we're suffering from a lack of. It's more appropriate to think of an owner-occupied residence as having special tax. Most states, you get more limits around property tax increases. You get the tax-free capital gains up to $250,000, $500,000 that you wouldn't get in a long-term rental. Mortgage interest can only be deducted against rental income too. We need to stop trying to increase taxing things we don't like. Why are these places not creating massive property taxes on homes that are not primary residences? To effectively force landlords to sell? Why would anyone consider this as any answer? Tax people more to try to force something? Many people move for jobs and rent an actual house for a few years. There are also people who do not want to be homeowners. Great way to increase the cost of rent and reduce the availability of rental properties. Not to mention for those that have kept an original starter home as an investment for their retirement. Because every U.S. congressman owns 2 homes. It wouldn't work. People would, and often already do, just set up LLCs for each purchase. Housing issue isn't investment homes or whatever. It's that people aren't willing to move to cheaper locations, so we have a population that is all clumped up in large cities, creating housing shortages. You don't have to move to a hillbilly swamp to find affordable living. But you do need to be willing to move. On your primary residence you are exempt from up to $250,000 in capital gains taxes when it comes time sell. And $500,000 if you are married filing jointly. For an investment property you get zilch. This is an enormous tax disadvantage for investment property owners relative to homeowners. So what happens to the people who can't afford homes? Where do they live? 70% of Americans are homeowners. The majority of the 30 couldn't afford homes even if rates and prices were lower. Who would this even help? The 5% of people that are pissed they have college debt instead of a mortgage? The fact is people are still able to afford these prices, and the ones that can't still need somewhere to live. Yeah, there are some people priced out, but most already own or don't have an aspiration desire to. 1. Because wealthy people put their money in real estate, and wealthy people are generally the ones who drive policy. They're not going to act against their own interests. 2. There are a lot of low-income folks who actively vote against their own interests and don't vote for changing policies that negatively impact them, e.g., the strongest resistance to expanding access to affordable healthcare coming from those who would benefit the most from it. This isn't a "those rich bastards" comment or a "poor people want to stay poor" comment. It's just how our system is set up. Vermont has a separate property tax bracket on these homes. They are supposed to pay taxes on gains when they sell, because those with money have money to lobby to keep taxes low or non-existent. But the 1031 exchange was created to avoid paying taxes. Just one of many. Some form companies, LLCs, to buy and sell these as a business. There's a whole market of advisors to minimize tax liability on the sale of their real estate or business when they sell one, the whole thing, or when they retire. All perfectly legal. The real problem is not the long-term owners. It's the short-term owners taking a lot of the long-term rental stock out of the market. You can charge more non-owner occupied housing, but what it will do is drive up the cost of the rental. Help me understand the thought process here. Increase taxes on investors of single-family homes with the intention that they sell instead of just raising rents? Ideally, this would flood the market. Cause a massive price drop in homes? That way the average Joe can buy? Assuming, of course, the massive drop doesn't destroy the banking industry and average Joe can still go out and get a loan. Oppressive taxes won't get the results that you want. You know what will? Building more affordable homes. How do you build more affordable homes? Well, that's complicated. Zoning is a local issue, not a national one. Every town will have a different answer. This is dumb. All Congress needs to do is change the deductibility of interest and not allow depreciation on zoned single-family homes. That will immediately make them way less attractive to many investors. The math gets way worse very fast. There is a demand for single-family home rentals though, so they need to find a balance. Fun fact: the house I use as a rental has twice the property tax as it had as a non-rental property. Also has to pass an annual rental property inspection in order to be used as one. Simple: no investments, fewer houses built, more homeless. When has decreasing investment in something ever led to more of that something? That's why. Because it's a free market and nothing should be given to lazy victims. Last time I knew this was America and you were free to invest in any manner or asset class chose to. Housing was never unaffordable like it currently is in this market. I feel badly for young families starting out today. The inflation is outrageous. Everything from food to transportation, etc. Because this isn't the Soviet Union. I'd love to see higher taxes based on the number of homes an individual owns. It takes changing local tax laws. Take a look at Vancouver. If the home isn't a long-term rental and not inhabited by the owner, then there is a 20% surcharge on top of property taxes.